will turn on a victim. And that's certainly something we've seen in play this past summer. You know, we've got the case of the 11-year-old rape victim in Texas who was gang raped, videotaped, and you see the cultural bias, the townspeople talking about, you know, the type of clothes she wore, her behavior. You've got the New York Times buying right into it and quoting those folks. We all saw what happened with the DSK case. I mean, that victim, her credibility and her reputation was just annihilated. You had the New York Post go as far as publish that she was a hooker. Just some outlandish behavior. So Helen, we'd love to hear about that.
Sure. Quick question for all of you. How many here are journalists? All right, great. I wrote the book Virgin or Vamp, How the Press Covers Sex Crimes as long ago as the 90s, and I did it in response to the Jennifer Levin case, if you remember that one, because my eye was caught by the headline, How Jennifer Courted Death. This was the case where she was sexually assaulted and murdered by Robert Chambers in Central Park, a man she dated occasionally. And the victim blaming was so outrageous that I had to do something about it. So I looked at several major cases of the time and looked at a lot of sociological surveys of how the language we use when we were in newspapers and of how juries behave and so on. And in short, I discovered that there's a list of 8 factors, and the more of these factors are in play in any case, the more likely the woman is, in the case of the victim, and this would apply to men as well, is portrayed as the vamp, the woman who asked for it, the slut. And the fewer of these 8 ingredients she has, the more likely she's to be portrayed as the virgin, the innocent who was attacked by a monster. I have to say right out that that both these narratives are completely wrong-headed and do no service to the fair coverage of rape. I mean, why should a woman have to be a perfect, innocent virgin type to be believed? Why should, and rapists are not monsters. They, in fact, have the most normal psychological profile of any criminal. Here are the 8 ingredients, and you might want to write them down, and just for an exercise, apply them to the cases we're reading today and see how they fit, because they certainly fit those cases just mentioned. If she knows these are the things that count against her. If she knows the assailant, 1. 2, if no weapon is used. 3, if she is of the same race as the assailant. 4, if she's the same class as the assailant. 5, same ethnic group as the assailant. 6, if she's young. 7, if she's seen as attractive. And 8, if she in any way deviated from traditional female sex role of being at home with family or children when she was attacked. When I say the same race, I should have added the same class and ethnic group and class, socioeconomic class, the same or lower. It'll go against her. And the thing about the deviated sex role is important because this is when double standards come in. You know, so the behaviour that a lot of us would take for granted that we do all the time, like go to a party, go out on a date, you know, take a walk after dark. Suddenly, in hindsight, after a woman is attacked, can be described as asking for it. Now, I have to say one more little thing, if I can, about the press, because I'm not trying to advocate that the press don't reflect what the media doesn't reflect what people say. I mean, the media only echoes what people say. It has a chance to lead it as well. But, you know, people are saying prejudiced things out there. We can't not report what people are saying, but what we can do is balance it by looking for the other people who are saying different things, and they will be there. Instead of just grabbing the sexiest quote we can find, she was a hooker. There's going to be somebody else in that town who will defend her. So, you know, one has to be balanced about this, especially when there is unfair bias at work.
any of the DSK case that you mentioned?
Well, as soon as I saw that case come up, I thought of those 8 ingredients, and she had every one of them against her. And I predicted what would happen, and I was horrified, alas, when it did, because, you know, this book came out in 1991, and it was read by a lot of newspapers, and some even published guidelines for their reporters on how to better cover sex crimes. But that mood has passed, and we've gone backwards, and that case, everything about that case shows it. So I urge you, young journalists and media consumers, say to your editors, I have a more original way of covering this story. Write to your editors and say, I don't like the way this story was covered. This is a biased, blaming victim way of covering rape that actually counts against all women and counts against all people who want justice about this subject. Speak up, because the one thing about the media is they want to please you, especially these days when they're having a hard time selling themselves. You have real power there.